Hello everybody, hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Connor here. We are back with another episode on One Leeds. This time everybody, we're going to be speaking about things that happened yesterday and things that have obviously controlled the narrative and determined the narrative when it comes to the championship table so far. But before we start the video, please make sure you're liking the video. There's content on the Patreon, so make sure you're heading on over there as well. We've got YouTube memberships, which are open now as well, everybody, so make sure you check on that as well. There's a thanks option as well if you just want a one-off donation, getting all that good stuff in before we start. So, as you can see, the sun is shining and Leeds United have beaten Cardiff 3-0. A good day for the Whites yesterday. I spoke on last night, I should say, Ben Johnson from West Ham United. Now, there is a little bit of an update when it comes to Ben Johnson and Leeds United. So, obviously, Leeds have been interested. According to several reports, apparently they're in conversations right now with West Ham United over a signature of the 23-year-old right back. He can play left back as well, has played centre back, burst onto the scene when he was around about 17, 18 years of age, and has really fallen out with the hierarchy at West Ham United, which may be something to keep an eye on when we talk about all this attitude stuff. However, what we did figure out when it comes to the attitude stuff is, several Spurs outlets last night were talking about the issues that Jed Spence has had when it's come to attitude and problems at Tottenham Hotspur. So I will push back on that, to be fair. It was good that we actually had official sources saying it, really, when it came to Jed Spence, and that's what I needed. I needed someone, I needed some sort of Tottenham Hotspur link, really, to talk about potentially his attitude and all this sort of stuff. So that was being reported last night when it came to Spence. And listen, all we had was the sort of subjectivity at the start of this whole saga. It was all if, buts and maybes. It was all maybe. Let's send him back. But do we actually know why he's been sent back? Yada, yada, yada. And apparently Jed wasn't happy with a lot of things, but Jed has a certain way of putting over when he's not happy with certain things. That's coming from the Spurs side. The attitude thing seems to be an actual thing with Jed Spence, but I just think sometimes it can be a very, very lazy way of just saying a player simply hasn't worked at a club. But we link that back to Ben Johnson, and regarding Ben, there's a few people down at West Ham, or West Ham side, if you do enough digging, who talk about an attitude problem, who talk about this, that and the other. So once again, I think Leeds United need to broaden their spectrum if they don't want this whole attitude thing. And the reason I mention that is because is there going to be a scenario a little bit later on down the line where Daniel Farke has potentially fallen out with maybe a Ben Johnson? It's hypothetical, but it looks like David Moyes has fallen out with Ben Johnson. That's down to playing time, but there is going to be competition when it comes to Archie Gray and Ben Johnson at right back. Would Ben Johnson be happy with that? Coming from the Premier League to the Championship, you probably want guaranteed minutes, as Jed Spence did, as Eddie Nketiah did when he came to Ellen Road. So it's whether or not Leeds can guarantee him that. Leeds, are they going to go in and just say, look, you're going to be in competition. You're going to be in competition with Archie Gray. He's playing so well now. And would Ben Johnson be happy with that? Now, there has been further development overnight when it comes to the West Ham fullback. It seems that Connor Coventry is going to be leaving West Ham United. Now, why does that stump up some problems for the Whites? Well, because West Ham have to have 24, a list within their squad of homegrown players. Now, with Connor Coventry going out, it puts West Ham right on the brink of things. Now, what we do know in this window is they are massively in for Jack Clarke as well. Now, could that impact their fee for Willie Gnonto? We've spoken about this previously. Their targets, their shortlist evidently include the two championship stars in Willie and Jack. So if they are to get Jack Clarke in, then obviously that's going to aid the homegrown players, with Jack Clarke being England born. So that would aid Leeds United in being able to go in and get Ben Johnson. But as of right now, West Ham are right on the cusp when it comes to homegrown players. So I don't know, and I don't think that would work unless they were actually to go out and get a homegrown talent, someone like Jack Clarke. Now, Sunderland are a selling club, which is a good thing for Leeds United in terms of West Ham going in for a Jack Clarke and then maybe Leeds going in for a Ben Johnson. But once again, it's going to widen the pool again, isn't it? Leeds are going to have to go out and maybe look at alternatives. Look at alternatives when it comes to Ben Johnson. Who can we get? Where will they fit into this side? Is there going to be the right competition? Are they going to get the right minutes? But it seems like when we are looking at Ben Johnson, that this could be a real stumbling block in the deal. So problem in a sense, because you do think when Leeds are speaking to West Ham United that something's getting hashed out But as I've just said, with Coventry moving, Connor Coventry, I believe it was either the end of last week or maybe even this weekend, with him moving out, him being a homegrown player, that's going to impact 100% their dealings in this window. So keep an eye on that one. I wanted to just touch on the Cardiff game. You guys are probably here for three things. We're going to merge this with the transfer news as well, but just a little bit more on the transfer news. Southampton have made their first acquisition this window. Joe Rothwell, who they brought in from Bournemouth. Obviously, Joe Rothwell, formerly of Blackburn, signed by Bournemouth, and he's been a really decent player for them. I like that addition. I think it's a really, really good addition for Southampton. I like the Travis addition with Ipswich, who incidentally won last night, didn't they? Sunderland missed an absolute gilt-edged chance, a ridiculous chance. Ipswich go to the other end and score. And their smallest player on the pitch in Connor Chaplin wins a header. So it just feels, you create your own luck, of course, but Ipswich are just getting absolutely every strain of luck in this promotion campaign, and it's going to go right to the wire. But once again, Leeds just have to be consistent. The only team we gained on yesterday was Leicester, which doesn't really mean anything to us because we all know Leicester are going to go up as champions. We need to start gaining on Southampton and Ipswich. The Saints are really going marching in at the minute. Excuse the pun, but it really is true at the minute. They just seem impossible to beat at the minute. It's 19 unbeaten for them, and it's crazy. It really is crazy. And I think Leeds, we pretty much kicked off that running deal. That sort of run that they had when they beat us by 3. Obviously, it's St Mary's. So, but what did we learn yesterday? We learned that Leeds look so much better with Patrick Bamford up top. We spoke about this on all of the reviews of the game, but it's completely true. Leeds look so much better with him up top. He stretches play. He gives Leeds an option to go long. I'd have liked to have seen us go long with even Jorginho Rutter up there, but it doesn't seem Leeds were willing to do that. Whether or not they question his hold-up play is a different matter. But I thought Bamford still looked... I thought at phases, let's not blow up and let's not create a completely different narrative here. Bamford was still poor in phases. His hold-up play can be very, very 50-50. His touch is too many touches in certain situations where he can just pass it off. Is still a problem with him. But as we know with him, as I've mentioned several times, when it's down to instinct, he's very good. When he has time to think, he was throwing goal yesterday, wasn't he, keeper with the save, but it wasn't a great effort. When he has time to think, that's where the problems come in with Pat Bamford. But listen, he did well yesterday, got his goal, led the line really well against 2 physical centre backs, and you can't really complain. But it's his position to lose, really. Another thing that we learned yesterday was the Ethan Ampadu at left-sided centre-back. I had no idea that he could use his left foot like that. He creates a really lovely balance when it comes to that back two when Pascal's not there. And unlike Pascal, who looks for the short option, I think maybe because Ethan's not as confident with his left foot, because it's not his strongest foot. Ethan looks to clip the ball down the line a lot with his left foot, which I don't mind. I think in certain situations, that's a really good way of playing. Leeds run the channels well with someone like Patrick Bamford up top. And the thing with Bamford is he creates a press. And we always talk about Leeds almost not having a press, but maybe it's down to individuals. And I think systematically that's a problem because it's just almost off the cuff, really. It's, very whimsical. But it does seem that yesterday Bamford was pressing way more than Perot does, as even when he is pressing as a front man, and even more than Jorginho Rutter. So that was interesting. Maybe it just felt like Bamford was going off on a whim and pressing himself. I don't know what the instruction there was, but that's something to keep an eye on in the next coming games when Bamford's definitely going to be starting. But yeah, I liked Ethan Ampadu as that left centre back 100%. As well, Gruev, we need to talk about him. Very athletic. Liked it. Thought he got about the pitch a lot. Thought he looked fit, a lot fitter than he did at the start. The tackles were good. The combativeness was good. And on the ball, I thought he was good, making correct decisions. And as I mentioned previously, I think he was making the wrong decisions in always having the handbrake on and playing safe. But I thought he was really good yesterday. I actually gave him an 8 out of 10 on the player ratings. And I thought that was well given. I don't think he did anything wrong. And I thought his percentage, and I'd love to have seen his pass percentage yesterday, but I thought he was really, really good. So guys, let me know what you think. Did you learn anything new yesterday? What are your thoughts on the Ben Johnson news? Would you be looking to go elsewhere, or should Leeds pursue that and wait for the dominoes to fall? Because this is what we're talking about when we're discussing being opportunistic and waiting for the right things to go in place, really. Leeds have got to wait for maybe a Jack Clark deal done. been done, which might take a while, but they might have already got this Ben Johnson deal done behind the scenes, but they're waiting on just homegrown players to filter into West Ham, which would mean as soon as Jack Clark's ticked off, West Ham might have said, look, then you can have Ben Johnson. Well, that's it from me, everybody. Please make sure you check out the Patreon. Make sure you're checking out as well the YouTube memberships. Make sure you stay in tune to everything at One Leeds. And let me know exactly what you think in the comment section below. And I'll see you in a bit. Cheers.